Hello and welcome back to Drinking by My Shelf. Today I am talking about my guilty pleasure. This is a specific genre of book that I just adore, even though I know it's usually stupid and it's so easy to poke holes in, but I just love the time travel novel. Now, I have always been obsessed with time travel for as long as I can remember, really, and I don't know why. It just, something about it really sparked my imagination. Even though no part of me believes even for a second that it makes sense, but something about them just captures my heart. I love it. And movies as well. I've always loved time travel movies. I love Back to the Future, I love Butterfly Effect, I loved About Time, even though everyone else hated it, I loved it. I love Groundhog Day, does that count as time travel? I love Midnight in Paris. I loved Looper for like 95% of the movie, and I can't remember because it's a while ago it came out. I saw it at the cinema. I can't remember what it is that annoyed me about the ending, but the ending they definitely screwed up, and I definitely made everyone who went with me listen to me talk for like 45 minutes while I explained why it didn't work. Now, I think the first time I really fell in love with this genre was probably Time Traveler's Wife. I adored that book. I think I borrowed it from my mum when I was definitely a bit too young to read it because there's so much sex in it, but I just completely fell head over heels. And that's the type of time travel that I most like reading about, the ones where instead of going back and changing something, you go back and then just do what already happened, so it's very circular. I like that. Even though I know it doesn't make sense in real life because, like, what's the cause and effect? But there's something just so neat about it. I love it. And Time Traveler's Wife was so cool. I loved how their love stories intersected, how they actually had different histories. When she meets him for the first time, he already knows they will end up married, and when he meets her for the first time, she already knows they will end up married. It was cool. I thought it was really cool. I haven't read it in a while, actually. I think I'm going to read it again. The other depiction of time travel which is really similar to that is the one in Prisoner of Azkaban in Harry Potter. I really liked that one as well. It's the same thing where it wraps it up like a circle, so it's kind of like they don't go back and change anything, but it's because they went back that things worked out the way they did. Kind of hard to get your head around for a second, but I just really liked that. And I know that people were annoyed in the movie version of Prisoner of Azkaban. They added bits in that scene that didn't happen, but I really liked it because it emphasized the circular nature. So like when they throw stones at themselves to get their attention, and that happened the first time around when they were there, they heard a stone come through the window. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. A totally different approach to time travel is found in the first 15 lives of Harry August. This could not be more different as an approach, but I actually really enjoyed this one as well. This very much, they do go back and change things and see quite how differently the universe turns out if things changed, which makes more sense in terms of cause and effect in real life, but it's very confusing to get your head around. How it works is Harry August lives his whole life. When he dies, he then is born again at the beginning, but he has a memory of his past life and not everyone else does. But essentially, at the moment that he's born, everything is the same as when he was born the last time around, but he can then put changes into motion that might have a huge effect. Where it starts to get really confusing is that there's a whole team of time travelers who can do this, and they start collaborating to try and change the world in certain ways, but to pass messages to each other, they have to pass them through the generations. So it can take like centuries for messages to pass. I can't remember the exact timeline, but say he's in 2016, he dies, and right before he dies, someone gives him a message. He would then go back to like 1920 or whatever, and then he can pass the message from 2016 back to 1920, but he has to live his whole life before passing another message, so it takes like generations and generations for them to talk to each other. It gave me a headache trying to work out how they were doing this, but it was very clever, and it was also exhausting. It felt like, you know when you're like playing a video game or something, and you die, and you go back to the start of the level, and you're like, oh, it's really boring doing it again. It hurt thinking about how dull it would be going back to do your life again and again and again. I'm not sure that everything in this book totally added up, but it might be that I was wrong. It might be just that I was so confused reading it that I thought it didn't add up. But even with those bits where I thought it was flawed, I loved this book. I had such a good time reading it. It's a totally different approach to time travel from anything else I've read, really. So if you like the genre but you think it's a bit overdone, this is definitely one that will feel brand new. Okay, and then some children's books that I definitely loved when I read when I was younger. One of them is King of Shadows. Now this one I partly love because of the context in which I read it. When I first went to my senior school when I was 11, in the summer before I went, they sent us all a book that we were supposed to read for English, and it was King of Shadows. And I was so excited to go to my senior school, so partly when I think of this book, I just think of like the excitement of being sent this book. But also, I do just think it was great. It's about a boy who gets ill and he goes back in time and meets Shakespeare, and you kind of go back and forth, so you see him in the past with Shakespeare and you also see the boy lying in the hospital and all the nurses are totally baffled because he has the plague, and they're like, but we don't get the plague anymore. And another classic is Tom's Midnight Garden. Do you remember Tom's Midnight Garden? About the boy who doesn't have a garden until the clock strikes 13, and then he goes out and meets a little girl called Hattie, and he realizes that he's going into her past, and he goes into different stages of her past, and she grows up. It's very sweet. There's a very touching ending. I don't want to give you spoilers. I know it's a children's book, but I don't want to give you spoilers because it's very lovely. Other books that I'm excited to read about time travel, I have ready to read this summer, The Square Root of Summer, which I have heard so much about. It's kind of been described as like a summer romance with time travel, which sounds totally ace. I also really want to read Outlander. Loads of people have told me that I'll really like Outlander. I think I need to read the book series and then watch the TV show. I think I'll like those. But if you know any other time travel books, let me know because I will read them and I will love them, most likely. So write me a comment below telling me your time travel books, or send me a Snapchat. My username is boobsmcboobs, don't laugh. Or tweet me, or Instagram me, or any of my social links are below. And mainly don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I do new videos every Monday and every Friday, so you can catch me twice a week here drinking by my shelf. So let me know your thoughts and I'll see you next time.